Good afternoon, all. Thanks for joining the call, and it's a pleasure to have you all here on the talk. Let's talk. It's been an initiative by Younify to ensure that we are prospering mental wellness among students. We have been doing this daily talk show with students from across the colleges that we are partnered with, also colleges across the 3 states of Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Rajasthan. This is an initiative for us to talk to students, to empower them to come out with their issues and talk to the right coaches. We've been bringing on coaches on the platform, the Let's Talk show. There will be an empowerment coach, or there will be a psychologist, or there will be a psychiatrist joining the show every day. And we do a weekly panel session week on week. This is the 3rd panel session in this series, and we have picked up the topic of prospering mental wellness among students through sports and fitness. Now, when I've picked up this topic, my very best friend and the person that I've been in touch with for about 3 years now, R SRIDHAR, has ably supported, as well as the rest of you both who are there on the panel today have agreed to join us. Now, as we keep going, I would like to give a brief introduction about all the 3 panelists on the panel today. And we'll start with our lady on the call, DIVYA Jain. So DIVYA is the head of psychological services for the Department of Mental Health and Behavioral Sciences, working at Fortis National Mental Health, working on Fortis National Mental Health Program. She holds a master's degree in clinical psychology from the University of Delhi, and is a board certified sports psychologist from the American Board of Sports Psychology. Welcome on board, DIVYA.
Okay.
And we have Sridhar R. Sridhar R, we fondly call him Sridhar, is a former Indian first-class cricketer and the current field coach of the Indian cricket national team. He played for Hyderabad cricket team from 90s to 2000, before taking up cricket coaching in 2001. Apart from being the fielding coach of the Indian team, he's also the fielding coach of the IPL franchise at Kings 11 Punjab. Welcome on board, Sridhar Garu. Vidyadhar is our 3rd panelist of the day. Vidyadhar is a coach for Indian badminton team and had a fantastic career in international badminton from 97 to 2011 for almost 14 years. Been included in the panel of Badminton Association of India's list of coaches in the junior category. Welcome on board, sir. Thank you for being with us today. So, the first question, or with the opening statements of my discussion, I would want to know the criticality or the significance of a physical activity which is consistently put up in the form of sports, or physical fitness done through gymming, or a regular physical activity on a daily basis. What is the significance of this on a youngster's mind? And this question is to DIVYA.
So I think that sports in itself is such a big life skill. When as parents, as grown up, we put so much focus on studying. But I feel like sports can teach us so much. Whether it's come to your dexterity, your skills, whether it comes to your focus, people who play sports have a lot more ability to focus and concentrate better, decision-making skills, the ability to deal with successes, failures, working hard, maintaining that discipline. So I feel like sports is like a crash course in life skills, and it's the best possible place to learn that. At the same time, even physically, it'll give you a lot of endorphins, make you feel a lot more positive, make you feel a lot happier. That's an added advantage. Also the social interaction that it allows you, to have other people, to have a stronger support system. So I think when all of that is put together, I think that everyone should play sports, no matter what age, no matter what level. You could be 70, 80 years old, you could be 6 years old. The nature of what sport, how you play it, what your goals are, of course, will change. But I think all of us across the board need to start playing a sport if we aren't already.
Thank you, DIVYA. Let us hear from Sridhar. Sridhar, you've been a sports personality right from your childhood. What's that confidence that got into you through all of the activity or the physical activity that you've been part of from your childhood? Sridhar, you're on mute.
Yeah, big hello to the panelists, Divya and Vidyadhar, and also a big hello to all the participants.
Hello.
And I totally second what Divya just said. I mean, she absolutely nailed it when she mentioned all the aspects of life skills which are developed in a very implicit way when someone participates in sports. You know, that is something you probably would not learn in a classroom, the life skills. So she put it up beautifully, and I totally second that. And I'm sure even Vidyadhar will completely agree to it, having played this sport. A little bit of a challenge, a little bit of change between me and Vidyadhar would be, he has played an individual sport, probably he played doubles as well, but I have participated and coached in a team sport, which to me adds another dimension to the learnings of life skills. So, I mean, there is a little bit of a difference there, but apart from that, like what Divya said, I mean, it is a huge advantage in the childhood to play sports. And to me, two biggest learnings or two biggest developments in me was resilience, which means the bouncing back from failures, which is what sports is all about. And the second factor, I would say, it gave me a great learning playing the sport is social adaptability, which again Divya touched upon. Social adaptability is something you learn, you really pick up when you play team sports, and intrapersonal relationships, you become really good at it, and that goes a long way in helping you succeed in various fields.
Thank you, Sridhar. Let us also listen from Vidyadhar. Vidyadhar, what's your experience around sports and the impact of sports in life?
Good afternoon, both Sridhar Garu and Divya. And first of all, I totally agree with both of them. As Sridhar Garu said, it's like individual sport or a team event or a team sport, whatever it is. Ultimate goal is to win. The failure or success, right now as a player, the career was totally different. And after becoming coach, the life is totally different now. Because now at least we are on the teaching side and we are able to help a lot of kids and parents, because the parents come with a lot of enthusiasm, and the overnight they want to become champions, which we could not make. And the other thing is they are not ready to see the failure of their kid. They just want to have the success in just a couple of months or year. So I just want to say that they should know the taste of both success and failure, and then only they can go forward in the life. Because a sportsman career, from the beginning, if you take, they are mentally very tough. And to guide, we have so many people like Divya, and we have a lot of team. Whenever we travel with the Indian team or we travel with any state team, we have a team, and the togetherness comes, and the bonding comes with so many things. So I totally agree with Sridhar Garu that it's an individual or team, but the ultimate thing is the mental toughness of the sportsman and a normal person is a lot of difference is there. And I sincerely always, I used to tell even my parents or the kids also, whoever are training under me, that they should be mentally strong, and then only they can achieve anything in their life.
Now, you have brought on a beautiful concept called failure and success. And you try to explain it through your sports experience, where you say that either win or fail, it should always lead them towards better mental strength and awareness towards what they're doing. This is what I wanted to bring out during our conversation. How are youngsters, or how would sports and physical fitness help youngsters to deal with their failures and then to deal with also their successes? Because both of them are supposed to play a pivotal role in their life learning. Either it's a win or a failure. They're supposed to teach them some learning. They're supposed to keep them balanced. So while they are going through this journey as youngsters, starting from the age of 15 to 25, which is the most crucial age of their mental development, what major role does sports play in balancing their emotions? And this is a question more towards Divya. What sort of issues would you see in youngsters who are taking up sports as part of their curriculum along with their studies, as well as students who are not concentrating on sports but still being able to progress in their career? So is there a significant difference in the way that these two groups of people deal with their emotions?
So see, as far as success and failure is concerned, I don't think that it's the sport in itself that would necessarily help you. I feel like it's the attitude that you would have towards the sport, which is frankly the same attitude we want kids to have even during their exam, right? Even the exam win and fail should be treated in exactly the same way. That's what we want. Basically two things. One, from the child's own perspective, it's about process versus result, right? So when we focus on the effort that the child is putting in, that has to be the key. Did I do the best that I could? What are the kind of goals that I set for myself? What is the kind of effort that I put in? And effort should be rewarded because effort is in our control. Results are not. It's the same whether it's an exam, it's the same whether it's a dance competition or whether it's a cricket match. That would not change, right? The second thing, the more important thing is the attitude that the parents, the coaches, the teachers actually have towards this situation, right? How much importance do these people, do parents and teachers give to just winning versus someone playing their absolute best? I feel like because if sports is something that goes parallel, the same pressure can come there also. If it's a culture where people are only harping on the result, then even there the same emotional difficulties will come up, the same anxiety, the same performance pressure is bound to come up. So it's not so much which activity, it's the attitude with which we follow that activity that I think would be key here.
Thank you, Divya. Now, Sridhar has been dealing with the best 11 of the country, the best 11 who's been chosen from across the country, and the 11 who makes us feel proud every day when they get onto the field. Now, this best 11 whom you are coaching, Sridhar, on the field, what sort of a difference do you see to that best 11 when compared to the rest? And what sort of rigorous training they go through to overcome that emotional pressure that they'll be going through every day? I would want to bring out the significance of their daily routine and coaching, which would then make them apart or keep them the best out of the rest of us.
Yeah. I mean, let's start with talking about the best sportsman, probably best cricketer, let's put it that way, India has ever produced. Let's talk about Sachin Tendulkar, okay? Sachin Tendulkar has played 700, how many hundreds he's got in international cricket? Everyone knows. He's got hundreds. I mean, it's a statistic the whole country knows, right? And he's got about 150 half centuries. So that's about 250 innings where he's been successful. But if you look at the number of matches or innings Sachin Tendulkar has played, he's played around 400 ODI matches and he's played around 200 test matches, which in turn means 350 innings. So he's gone out to bat 750 times for the country, out of which he's performed only 250 times, which means he's succeeded only once in 3 attempts. Okay, people don't see that. He is the greatest cricketer India has ever produced. He succeeded only once in 3 attempts, going by his own lofty standards. So the point I'm trying to make here is cricket, for that matter, is a game of failures. It is how you deal with your failure, which dictates how consistently you're able to succeed. So dealing with failures is a massive part of the sport, and we inculcate that in our practices as well. And that again goes back to resilience. You know, the example which I give to most of the young students whom I coach, I'm sure Divya will know this, is whether you want to be like an egg or whether you want to be like a tennis ball, you know? So you drop both to the ground, one crashes and breaks, the other one bounces back into your hand. So that is what sports teaches you. You want to bounce back, because in sport there are injuries. There are days when you really lose badly. There are days when you can't play at your best owing to various other reasons. But eventually what a sportsman does, he gets up the next day, he goes again for practice, whether it is rain or shine, he puts in the yards and is preparing for the next game. And like the famous quote by the tennis player Bjorn Borg, he said, victories are very good, but losses are invaluable. So both the greatest tennis player to play the sport, one of the greatest, I should say, Bjorn Borg, said, victories are great. I mean, everyone loves to win. All kids love to be on the winning side. I'll be lying if I say I don't. But losses are invaluable. So what we do as coaches is, when someone fails or when we as a team fail, we do not judge the person as a human being. We don't take that failure as an overall ability of that human being. We take it as an understanding of the focus at that particular point of time. That is what we try and bring in when we postmortem a game, or when we talk about a failure after the emotions have died down. We probably sleep over it. We give it 24 to 48 hours, and then we don't address the person. We address the moment where there could have been a failure of focus, and then quickly we move on to what we can learn from that and how we can help that particular point improve us as a team and as a person. Now, your question about dealing with the best players, most of the time what we are trying to do is increase the gap between your good days, decrease the gap between your good days and bad days. That is the endeavor of anyone in any walk of life. You want to be more consistent in what you do. You want your good days, the gap between your good days and bad days, to be really, really less. So that is what we practice with the elite. But once we go down to a junior level or a mature level, the practice completely change. It is more skill focused.
Now, does their routine and the practice that they're going through as part of this rigorous everyday routine, does that make a difference in what they are doing as the best versus the rest? Now, does the physical heightedness, where they are going through a rigorous training program, where they have a daily routine that they do not skip no matter what, does that make an impact on their ability to handle pressure?
100%. I think Divya touched upon this point. She spoke about the process versus result. So that is exactly what I'm sure Vidyadhar would agree. Is we in our daily routines focus only on the process. If we have ticked all our boxes in our preparation, it's not just one aspect of preparation. We break it into 4 parts. We speak about emotional preparation, physical, technical, and tactical. So there are 4 boxes. Once we tick all the boxes in terms of preparation, then the result is something which we cannot control. So all the players know that we practice routines, we practice concentration drills. So all that is in the practice session. So that largely helps you to take the result out of the equation. So irrespective of the result, we as a group want to behave the same way. There is something I would like to say. MS Dhoni is a fabulous captain. Why? Because he is not emotionally attached to the results. Whether it is a win or whether it is a loss, if you see his body language, it will be the same.
He's balanced.
Yes. He's very, very balanced. So we try and bring that balance in our practice routines. Yeah.
Great. I think that is what is missing in the youngsters' emotional balance as on today. When we see a lot of suicides, when we see a lot of depression cases, when we see a lot of mental wellness challenges that they go through today, this particular phenomenon, or this ability to adapt to either a win or a failure, or a good day or a bad day, or a good feeling or a bad feeling in life, is what seems to be impacting them adversely. Now, I would like to ask Vidyadhar on how the juniors at the badminton level are adapting to that pressure. What sort of a pressure do you see in that age group of 15 to 20, where they're wanting to excel in their sport. Now, especially this being an individual sport, this is going to be a different ball game when compared to the team sport like cricket. Of course, we're going to come back to a debate around which one is going to be much more beneficial for the students. So,
I'm not getting there. I'm not getting into that.
Vidyadhar, please throw some light on what sort of a mental pressure the youngsters go through while adapting to the pressure of the game, because that would give us parallels around how can the youth today adapt to such situations where they got to deal with high pressure. It can be exams, it can be situations with parents, it can be situations in relationships, it can be many other stuff. Please throw some light on that aspect.
Yeah. Okay. Coming to the point, I think first only Divya has touched this point, saying that it's not only professional or anything. Even the normal person taking from any age, they can go forward and play a sport where the mental toughness improves. That's 100% what she has said, and that is what we have been insisting. And in this, I would like to give a small example. I've been traveling with Indian junior team for last 2 years. I've traveled last year 2-3 tournaments, and before that year, and I have been traveling with them. So I see, even after practicing for so many years, there's a lot of mental stress going on in their mind. Once they get onto the court, maybe the first 4-5 points as an individual sport, I'm just telling now, because the first 5 to 10 minutes, these people don't understand what's happening on the court, and once they get into that pressure, and they're out from the game. That is what we have been insisting. And after coming back from the tournaments also, I have given a report that they need a lot of mental toughness to be on the court. Can give examples now. If Srikanth, now because of the lockdown, he is not able to practice in Hyderabad, so he's coming here to my academy to play. So I've been watching him for last 2 months, and I've been helping him. His bad phase is going on, because why I'm giving this example is, in 2019 he was one of the best player in the world, and he was former world #1, and he's the one who won like 4 to 5 tournaments in a year, with only 3 players in the world who has done it, with Lindan, Lee Chongwei, and Srikanth. So now, after coming back here, the only thing what he said is, my mental toughness has gone down, and I want to regain that, because once the discipline and the toughness on the court, now he has been, because now we take everything very light. What I would like to say is, any player, if you are not taking the, not able to exactly explain this point, because we need a lot of practice to get the toughness also. That is what I want to say. It is not that just overnight we can't make it. Last 2 months I have been helping him out, but still he is still not getting confidence on court what he used to have in the past years. So that is what I would like to insist, that even the kids, a lot of suicides are going on, and their mental stability is not there. So I would like to say that they have to be a little tough in whatever they are doing.
Yes, let us go back to the expert of this area, Divya. Now, when you're looking at the youngsters and the younger generation going through a lot of mental challenges, now, how do you think the rigorous training or concentrating on their physical fitness, or being able to participate regularly on a chosen sport is going to impact their toughness? Do you see a difference there? Do you see that these things are going to add more balance to their emotional side of things?
So I want to first of all just touch a little bit about what you mentioned earlier, because words like depression and suicide were brought up, and that, you know, my instant mental health hat comes on here. Just to say that, you know, depression is an illness, right? Suicides happen in a lot of cases because of an underlying depressive illness which is not diagnosed or not treated, right? Depression does not need to be looked at as a personal failure. Typically has a chemical component associated, may require medication, may require therapy, may require some other lifestyle changes also. So if we're talking depression and all of those things, we need to take a biopsychosocial thing in mind and not just look at it as someone who wasn't strong enough to deal with the challenges of life. Having put that aside, in terms of, yes, the discipline is important because as a generation, we're very used to instant gratification. We want something, we want it right now. We're not used to working on it for a very long period of time. 10 minutes, we get bored of doing one thing, then we want something else. You get us to do the same thing again and again, we get bored after a week or two. So I think that ability to tolerate the distress that comes along has reduced somewhere along the line. And that is something that creates a lot of the emotional ups and downs and the difficulties in different aspects of life. So for that, some kind of a discipline where you do things whether you feel like it or not, whether it's difficult or not, you create that discipline that no matter if I'm not feeling like doing it today, I'm still going to do it. And that in itself gives you that confidence. I think that is the part, that ability to be able to do despite whatever you may be feeling from a training perspective is what builds your mental strength a lot more. At the same time, I feel like overtraining is equally a problem. So we've noticed a lot of players who only train and sleep and train and sleep. And I feel like that is also something that we don't need to go towards. People need an all-rounded identity, which is not purely an athlete identity. You need to do something else, maybe play another sport, maybe play some musical instrument, have some friends outside the sport, within the sport, have a social circle, have a recreational activity, have other interests, have other passions also. So I think somewhere along the line, there needs to be that balance. Because if it's purely sport related, then, if there's an injury, if you're having a slump, suddenly it affects your entire sense of confidence as a person as a whole. So that's why we need to find the balance between discipline versus keeping an all-rounded kind of approach.
Yeah, thanks a lot. For that matter, I have noticed that India as a society as such today has moved towards a busy lifestyle where we are emphasizing less on the importance of sports in our day-to-day life. Whereas when we travel to countries like Australia, when we travel to countries like US or anywhere in the West, we see that there's a lot of emphasis on every other sport. Thanks to cricket today in India, at least we go to a field with our 5-6 friends and we start playing cricket. Or thanks to badminton and the popularity badminton has claimed in India, we take a shuttle bat, we go in and we play shuttle. But at the same time, what I'm trying to understand is the versatility of different other sports, because I see Sridhar making the team play football to practice for cricket. Now, that's the versatility that I'm talking about, which is missing in the society as on today. Where do you feel that, it's a question to all three of you, do you feel that the Indian young lot are missing that action and missing that excitement towards sports and not being able to cope up with their physical requirements and just sticking to their couch potato kind of life attitude? So what is missing as on today, and why do you need that is absolutely required for the youngsters to identify that they've got to go onto the field and play more? Sridhar?
Yeah, okay. I thought I'll let Divya go first.
Yeah.
To me, I guess, what instantly comes to my mind with regards to today's youngsters, I mean, Divya rightly said they need instant gratification, which is so true. And to me, two things. I mean, over a period of time, the lack of spaces in our metropolitan cities could have contributed this over a period of 20 years. And also in our schools, now if you see, there are many schools which just open without even a ground. Forget about a ground, they don't even have a TT table. I'm not even talking about a badminton court. So these are the things over a period of time which has probably contributed a little bit to our kids not taking up sport, because of the lack of facilities. So I think the solution would be probably to emphasize in schools, in their curriculum, to have these physical education periods where the kid can choose any sport he wants, or probably twice or thrice a week they go on and kind of practice that sport with schools hiring the respective coaches. That is probably one way of, getting kids into sport right from a very, very young age. Obviously, I take cricket out of this, please. I think that's something which is, every kid wants to play that, and you have to stop them from playing cricket. That's how it is in our country. Whether it is fortunate or unfortunate, I don't know. But I'm talking about in the overall picture, yeah. Kids need to be encouraged to play more sport when they are in school. And we need to create more spaces for them. Obviously, Ashok, you've been in Australia. There's so many others here who traveled, been to New Zealand and countries like that, where there is so much of space for kids and so much of community centers where kids can go and play. That is something which we need to develop as a society. These are two thoughts which come into my mind.
Thank you. Divya and Vidyadhar, any comments here?
Nothing much to comment. Mr. Sridhar has told everything, and I agree with Sridhar Garu, because actually that's the right time. Kids will take into the right path. All schools should start encouraging any sport. It's like any sport. Some sports should be played, because at least when we were in the schools, some playgrounds were there, and we used to have one sports period for all the schools. And now there is no sports period or something. You go to join any of the private schools, they have to, from morning 6 or 6:30, they have to go until 9:30. They put you in a grinder or mixie. They do whatever. That's it. And no sport activities, nothing. And last year there was a project coming up, but I don't know, somehow they have stopped. There's a pilot project coming up. I think Mr. Sridhar Garu must be knowing that. All schools, they have to introduce one sports period back to the schools. That's what actually our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has initiated. But somehow it has not been started. But I truly believe the perfect point Mr. Sridhar has taken out. Wherever you travel, I used to give training in US. They have a lot of space for the kids, for the community centers, or even the kids, they have a free time to play. But here, even the parents in the schools, everywhere, they don't give us space to play. And the only thing they say is education, that's it. But I feel that they should start an exclusive sports period. Maybe it may be half an hour, 30, 40 minutes, 45 minutes. One period should be exclusive, so that the enthusiasm, it grows up for the kids, and it will help a long way for all of them.
I'd also like to add here, I think that here, as society, adults and parents have a much, much bigger role to play. I think all of us need to start playing sports. We don't. We come back home, we sit in front of the television, and then we complain that kids spend too much time on screens. I think that needs to change. Parents need to not go to a school and ask what is your average board result coming to every year, because infrastructure will evolve around what people want. But I think that dedicated focus, that sports is important for my child, it's important for their development, it's going to help them succeed. So that focus needs to shift a lot more in conversation, which we as a society have. I feel like I would put less of it on schools and grounds in themselves. If adults and kids want to play, grounds will come, and I think kids want to play, right? I think all kids would any day rather be on a field and playing any sport rather than be sitting in the classroom. I think kids are the least of our problems right now.
Sure, because now if you get some time as a family, say, let's say we have a corporate family and they get some time, they either go to a mall, eat somewhere and go for a movie probably, and, spend time rather than probably going to a park and, doing something more physical or playing a sport. Now it's in Hyderabad, there's a little bit of an opportunity for us to have badminton courts. They're almost there in every vicinity. You can hire a court for $300, $400 and you can just go play for an hour. I do that with my daughter, but yeah, otherwise it's a challenge. We generally as parents opt to go for a mall and have a meal and spend those 3 hours in that manner, go for a movie and stuff. So the change in mindset would probably do wonders to change in infrastructure as well.
It's a beautiful point and a beautiful line that Divya has made. She said, infrastructure will evolve if we find it a need. If we think that is a need, and if we as parents recognize that we'll have to go out and do certain activities, we we would fight for better infrastructure, we would fight for petrol, we'll fight for petrol prices, we would fight for political reasons. But I've hardly seen parents fighting for good sports spaces. We hardly see parents themselves taking initiative going out to be fit. So yes, there should be a change that is coming from top down, and that should encourage not only students and youngsters, but also parents to go out and be physically active, because that's when they're setting up a precedence for their kids to be active. Now, I would like to remind the participants today that you can write down your questions on the messages. I would be able to take questions with our guests of the day, probably towards the end, probably in the last 10 to 15 minutes. But before that, please can you switch off your cameras and be on mute while the discussion is going on. And if anyone would want to directly ask a question, please raise your hand and I should be able to give you an opportunity to talk to the guest today. So this brings us to the most important question on a team sport versus an individual sport. Which one is more mentally fit? Which one do you see is going to give more dynamics in the form of either group dynamics or having an individual perspective or an attitude built around our personalities? So I would want both of our coaches as well as our expert Divya to talk about where do they see the best qualities being inculcated and being built. So let's talk.
I'll let Mr. Sridhar and Mr. Vidyadhar go ahead first.
We will see the expert opinion to start more neutral, probably perspective. Divya would have. Firstly, from my opinion, like I said earlier, so I'm a parent of a single child. Obviously, I would love my kid to go and play a team sport, but she loves badminton, so she goes and plays badminton. So that is something which is beyond my control. First choice obviously would play a team sport, but then if you like something, you can't stop her from doing that.
Why team sport? What when you say first choice is team sport, what do you think happens in a team sport from a mental toughness perspective and compared to an individual sport?
See, from my let me talk as a parent here, being a father of a single child, being a parent of a single child. I would like to go to a team sport where there is sharing of space, sharing of ideas. You'll have to put we ahead of I, which she won't do at home. Here at home, everything is for herself, isn't it? The whole space is for her. Everything. Well, she rules the roost, doesn't she? Because she's a single child. So as a single child, obviously, I would recommend all parents who have single child to play a team sport. I'm sure they would agree with me. And playing a team sport, not at all. There are so many aspects of life skills which Divya mentioned earlier on, which you develop. You develop playing any sport, whether it is badminton, cricket, or it can be any sport. But I would really feel if it's a single child, I would highly recommend to go and participate in a team sport, which gives a lot of other qualities, adds on to other qualities as you would play in it. The two most important ones being obviously sharing, social adaptability, like what I said, and sometimes putting the team ahead of yourself. That is something which you need to learn. If you are working in a competitive environment, you're working in a corporate sector, sometimes you have to put your team ahead of yourself. That is something you should learn. I'm sure Divya will agree.
Very true, very true. That is something that we've been missing as a society as such today, because we're all a group and we are living in a group structure. But most of the times we try to bring in our individual, not most of the times, many times, 99% of the times we try to bring in our individual perspectives in our lifestyle rather than trying to accommodate the rest. And that's what a societal living is always required to bring in. Yes, Sridhar.
Yeah, the other thing is, most of the time when you part of a team sport, the conversations are not debates, they are dialogues where people are talking to get to the best possible result. But if you are too individual centric, your conversations could be debates or arguments where you want to win. You want to win an argument, you want to win a debate, you want your point of view to be taken. It's my way or the highway kind of a thing. In a team environment where we discuss points, we don't have to agree on every point. It's okay to disagree on a few points, but more often than not, it's a dialogue, which is catered to the best possible result for everyone involved. that is another quality which comes up in team meetings.
So let's see if Vidyadhar agrees to it, where the team sports are going to sort of cater to an individual's perspective.
Badminton is the individual sport, but I'm sure there is a team behind it. So it's not going to be much different. I would love to hear from him.
Yeah.
So we have both the team event and individual. I totally agree. And because we'll be playing as a team when we have the team event, like so many Sudhirman Cup, Thomas Cup, wherever we go, we have a lot of team events coming up. And coming to individual, again, as you said, when you play World Championship, it's again individual event. But as you rightly said, it depends on the person, what they are going to take. And at last, what comes to is whether it is an individual or a team sport, but the person should give the 100%. That's what I feel. Because it's ultimately the team sport. One thing I can say is they have a good option of having a good conversation, and they have a team building. I can say that the team building comes up with them, but here it's as an individual, we have to take the total pressure on us, or it's a win or lose. It totally depends on us, because the total. Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, actually, coming to the point, that's what I would like to say, that the individual games, you need to prepare the whole thing, starting with your training and going to the match, whatever. If your coach is there with you, you can just discuss with him. The total, everything is depending on you, whether you are winning or losing. But as a team, it's a responsibility of the whole, and they have a group gatherings or whatever before the. I used to play cricket because, as Sridhar Garu said that he likes cricket, but his daughter loves badminton. I used to love cricket, and I used to play a lot of matches in Vijayawada also. When I came here, I used to play a lot of matches because people, when we are playing that, we used to like other sport. So I used to go and play a lot of cricket matches here. But as a team, it's very nice to sit with them and discuss, and as a team, how to go forward. So for me, it depends on totally individual. I don't say that this sport is good, this sport, the team events are good or individual. It totally, I leave it to the independent.
Sure, Divya, I would want you to now give an expertly.
She has to give that. She has to. She's a neutral. She has to give that.
You sum it up. She's a perfect expert.
I think first and foremost, yes, the interest that you have is paramount. What you enjoy the most, what the child enjoys most versus what other people think might be suitable is the way to go. I think every sport requires different skills. So while some will require more sustained focus, some will require more divided focus, some require more individual responsibility, some require team coordination and communication. So I think each sport touches on different skills, so to say. And for you to see which ones you're good at, which ones you want to get better at, those are the aspects you would look at. But I also feel that, yes, it's no matter what sport you play, it's important to have a social support network. Even if you're playing an individual sport, when you train with other people, you still have an environment which is a supportive environment rather than competing with other people. You compete with yourself, right? So you make sure that you still develop healthy relationships, whether with team members, whether with coaches, whether with friends outside. So I feel like just because you're playing an individual sport doesn't mean that you should lose out on those opportunities. And that's something we need to make sure that it happens. At the same time, in team sports, we need to make sure that each person gets their own sense of responsibility and individuality also. So in both cases, we'll have to balance these up. That's what needs to be looked at. And I feel like, winning should never be the goal. It should be about the person. It should be about developing that person to be the best version of themselves and make sure that they're healthy and happy at the end of the day. And that should just not be compromised at any cost.
So it seems that we'll have to have a balance of both the worlds, where we'll have to play both the sports, be part of a team sport by playing a team sport, and also go to a badminton court and be an individual performing on the individual's sport. Now, this also brings us to a few questions that people have put up here, but I'm just wondering if there is any sports related question, mostly around handling pressure and handling mental challenges. Now, what I'm trying to comment from our conversation is, how is this heightened activity in terms of playing a good sport or in terms of remaining fit in our day-to-day life going to impact our ability to handle pressure? Because all of the previous issues that we were discussing about, not only the depression related issues, which you have rightly said is not just about a person's mental ability, but also the chemical composure that goes on in the body. So when we put up all of these things, what is that advantage that an individual gets mentally while they're going through heightened physical activity every day, either in the form of a sport or in the form of being physically fit through a routine? Yeah, this is a question to you.
I think being a lot more resilient, like Mr. Sridhar had said, the ability to keep going, even if it's a little difficult, the confidence that you get from achieving your own goals. I think that the focus needs to shift a lot more to our health, which is very internal compared to external factors, like what you look like and things like that. I think that needs to be a significant shift. I feel like people generally need to be a lot more active, because right now there's so much screen time that's happening. There's so much just laziness, lethargy that's taken over. That motivation, that discipline, I find is missing. So just for that discipline, for that confidence, that sense of achievement that you get at the end of the day. And also, again, it's a chemical boost also. There is a whole host of chemicals like endorphins that are pumping through your body when you are physically active. So put all that together, get a chance to interact with some people also while you're at it. And it's quite the complete kind of feel-good package as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. There's one question probably someone has put up their hand. Dheeraj, do you want to ask a question to one of our panelists? Please go ahead, unmute yourself and.
Yes, thank you for giving this opportunity. As we have seen in 2012 Olympics, Saina Nehwal adjusted with bronze medal, and in 2016 Rio Olympics, Sindhu has got silver. In 2015 World Cup, India got out in knockout. Even same happened in 2019 World Cup. What is this with our Indian players? Is it like a mental thing, or it happened because of the strong opponents? What is it? Because it has happened frequently, right?
So do you want to understand if it is something to do with their mental fitness rather than their physical fitness?
Doing well in the initial stages, and when it comes to knockout stages.
So I think I'm going to answer very generically. I'm not going to take any particular things. I feel like in general, yes, as pressure mounts, the mental training aspect comes a lot more into the picture. When we hear commentary of any sport, you'll notice it's purely mental training. But when it comes to actual training, mental training is often not given the same amount of seriousness as, say, physical training, as technical, tactical training. It's taken as a byproduct. And I feel like it needs to become one of the core pillars. Time needs to be taken from training. A lot of times we say mental training is not training time. You do that in your break, you do that in your off time. And you can't just tell someone to relax when they're stressed out and play positive and things like that. That's not good enough. So I feel like in general, across the board, mental training needs to be a core pillar of training that needs to be inculcated. Because yes, as pressure mounts, that is something that will definitely act up. Rest, of course, panelists can answer.
Sridhar, do you have anything to say here?
I totally agree with what Divya just said once again, because she's exactly on the money with her answer. We talk about cricket being, or any sport being played between the ears, played up here in your head. While you practice, you develop a little bit of mental toughness. But we as coaches try and create pressure situations by simulating match. I'm sure even in badminton it will be the same. By simulating a lot of match kind of scenarios in practice and try and improve their ability to what do you call answer, or ability to respond to pressure situations. That is something we try and inculcate in the boys training. But like she rightly said, mental training is totally a subject and on itself, and players should be talking about it, should be working. There are drills, and I'm sure there are methods to develop your mental strength and handling pressure. Handling pressure is something which is very common at the elite level, at the highest level, because it is about winning. You know, you at the international level or in the Olympic level, you can't say, okay, process is good, it's not about winning, that's good in under 19 and under 16. But when you're elite sportsman, it's all about winning, whether it is a commerce, whether it is economics, or whether it is a medals, whatever it is about winning. It's cutthroat. So you have to handle that pressure. And in our country, the microscopic scrutiny, both cricket and badminton have, this and the noise which you have to reduce from the social media is something which needs proper guidance for players to do. I think, in my opinion, every sports team at the highest level should be having a proper sports psychologist on board, traveling 24/7, because the coaches can develop sometimes, but the coaches are not qualified to develop as a proper sports psychologist. So that is something we are getting at in cricket. So yeah, that is something which every sport should have to just develop the ability to handle pressure and resilience better and better, so that we go on to become a sporting powerhouse.
Thanks, Sridhar. There seems to be a big question put up here. Greetings of the day to panel members, especially to the coach. I admire R Sridhar sir. My question is, if someone is very much interested in sports and are in training to get success in their respective sport, but during this training or learning period, the society treats them like chichore and useless people, that really hurts to these people, and also this leads to change in parents' mind too. So how can a person face this and stick to aim and have to ignore the society?
Look, they tell you one thing, it happened in my own coaching career. When you try and do something different, which the people are not used to seeing, they try and criticize you and they try and pull you back, because you're doing something different. You're doing something which they've not seen. So that is, in fact, you can use it as a stepping stone. Like, you can use it as something to motivate you better. That is how I would look at it personally. It happened to me in my coaching career, early days, when I used to spend a lot of time doing something different, something more with my students. People always say, "Arey yaar, ye bahut karta hai, ye itna karta hai." Now today, those same people, they try and message me, so they try and try and get pally with me just because I'm coaching the Indian cricket team. So when you try and do something different, when you want to be different, when you have a kind of blinkers and your single-minded dedication in doing something, the society will try and pull you down. But use that as a stepping stone, use that as a springboard to further your skills. And if you are confident about yourself, if you really know what you want, nothing should be able to come in your path, or nothing should be able to stop you.
And in fact, we seems to be moving towards a society where sports and career in sports is more accepted than what it was, let's say, 10 years back. Vidyadhar Garu, you can also comment on this here. Yes, Sridhar, please, if you want to add something.
The reason why career in sports is being more accepted now is, especially sports like tennis, badminton, and cricket, is even if you, for instance, don't make it to the highest level, you still have so many branches in the sport where you can make a career. So today you try and play you badminton, and you go because of your knee injury, you really can't make it. But then you can go on to become a professional sport by getting your accreditations. You can become with the Indian Badminton League, you can become a commentator. There's so many other branches which are associated with the sport, which you can make it as a career. And cricket, you don't need to say. There are so many branches you can achieve. You can make a living out of. So that is one of the reasons why now sports is being looked more with a more broader perspective by the parents for young kids to take up as a career.
Yes, Vidyadhar. Do you also feel the same, where you see a lot of adaptation in the badminton space, not only by the parents but also by the society?
Yes, I agree with that statement, because actually before we never used to get a lot of exposure in all this stuff, but right now we have a lot of opportunities coming up, even in the badminton or any sport. Taking into any sport, a lot of opportunities have been created. It's not that So a lot of us are in petroleum sector. It's not only petroleum sector. A lot of sectors are opened up, and even you can make a career into any of the public sector and government. A lot of government jobs have been offered. At last, everybody looks to set their career. So a lot of opportunities have been created. So that's why now parents are also showing a lot of interest, and they would like to keep their kids the professional training, and that's what they always ask, that we want to keep my kid as a professional training, all that. So I totally agree. The scenario has totally changed, and cricket is always it's like a game in India that everybody plays, and a lot of opportunities have been there. But for all other sports, like a lot of branches, it has been opened up, and the parents are showing a lot of interest.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There's one last question that I would want to read through, and this is for Sridhar. It's been an interesting question. I had to skip it in the beginning just because I wanted to take it towards the end. It says, Sridhar, in India, we are natural good fielders. We have natural good fielders like Jadeja, Kohli, Raina, Rohit, Pandya. How did you prepare yourself to make them even more strong in fielding? And it also continues saying, tell about Dhoni's wicket-keeping skills. It's unorthodox. Is there any hand of yours in this skill? Is this his own work for wicket-keeping? Interesting question. So I just wanted to take this.
It's like I'm in a press conference, Ashok, right now. I just thought during these tough times, I'm away from the press conference. I'm sitting at home, but then I just feel like I'm in a press conference. Look, what is the meaning of a coach? The meaning of a coach, actually, it comes from the coach. The horse's cart which pull a coach is from taking a person from one place to another place, and the place where that person wants to go is a player's choice, not the coach's choice, isn't it? So my job is also, like with all the cricketers, understanding what they want, where they want to be after a certain time, and challenging them on their route to get to that place where they want to be to the best possible, at the fastest possible time. So yeah, to improve them, all I would do is talk to them, have a dialogue, see what they want, what they have in mind, and challenge them every time they're in a practice session. So that is what I do to make them better and better. And the second question about Dhoni, I think we are almost celebrating MS Dhoni week, with his birthday coming up very soon. And what I would like to say is he's unbelievably natural, and there is nothing that I have done to improve his wicket keeping. In fact, I have learned something from him on the contrary about wicket keeping, which I pass on to a lot of other youngsters whom I interact with. It's another nice question I read, Ashok. Sorry to take your time. The question says, where is it? Is it gone or what? It says confident to highly confident last overs of a match. Basically, I think what he's trying to say is how does a player gets confident during the tough crunch situations. That I'm sure Divya will throw some light on that. But what I feel is that is again the confidence you get by your practice, by your training, not only the technical part of it or other part of it. When you know that you have done something again and again and again, when you are put in that situation, you have the confidence that you will be able to pull it off. So that is what we try and recreate in the practice, so that put players in a situation where it is tough, but then when they get to that situation in a match, when that situation comes, it is there in their memory, the response is more often correct than not. So that's how we try and inculcate those that confidence part in practice.
Thank you, Sridhar. In fact, I wanted to highlight that even the education system was supposed to be a sport right from the beginning. Right from our early ages, where Dronacharya and the rest of the gurus were teaching education, they wanted to bring the best sportsmanship in every person through testing their abilities with exams. But unfortunately, as we kept going and as globalization bestowed on us all of the impacts of being able to be more productive to stay ahead in the race, somehow the education has lost its sheen to be to bring out the best sportsmanship in us. We've always started taking our exams as a means to stay ahead and score more marks, rather than try to have the right inculcation of the sportsmanship. We are taking our ranks as our pride and prestige, and that's where we are more lost into understanding the best techniques of scoring more, rather than understanding the concepts of what is being taught. So somewhere in our education system itself, a lack of sportsmanship has completely divided education into sports and the academics. In fact, it should have been a combination of these two things, where academics should have been mixed up with sports to have the best education system in place. And there are a few countries in the world, countries like Norway, the Scandinavian countries are doing really well in this aspect, where they're trying to mix up sports with education, trying to give more significance to our students' physical ability, which will then lead to a better mental health, where they're trying to make them prosper in all aspects of life, which also includes sports and education. So education for us should have been come packaged with a sport and a physical activity together to make it a 360-degree perspective to a student. But unfortunately for us, education has remained a textbook understanding of reading rather than being able to be more practical on what you learn. These two were divided totally to make them should have been worthwhile but have become worthless. So Divya, if you'd want to throw some opinion here as your last remarks, then we shall close the discussion thereafter.
Absolutely. I think I couldn't have said it better myself. I think we need to build a culture of sports. I think sports need to become a lot more a part of our day-to-day life rather than it being a distraction. And I think that if at all levels everyone can just play for the love of sports, then I think we'll be a lot healthier and happier and successful at the same time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sridhar. Thank you, Divya. Thank you, Vidyadhar, for joining us. I think there's one last question for Divya. I'm interested because it's pointed towards Divya. Divya, ma'am, in the process of getting success, obstacles occurs, but nevertheless, facing failure more times rather than if physical fitness is approached.
I think that failures are what make sports a lot of fun. Imagine if you were playing and you scored a century every single time. Imagine if you always got every smash right. You get really bored really fast. So I think sports is about overcoming the failures. That is what makes sports what it is. It's not about executing the perfect shot every time. If it was that easy, it would lose all its charm.
And interestingly, that is what the academic exams are also meant to do. The reason that we go through so many exams during a year, starting from our monthly exams to quarterlies, half-yearlies, pre-finals and finals, is because you are made to go through that, made to handle your failures, made to prepare for a best sport or a final sport where you are competing with the best of your class. But as I've said, somewhere we have lost that sportsmanship and it all became a game of marks rather than anything else. So yeah, thank you so much for your participation. Thanks for being on the panel. We'll surely get back to you with more panel discussions as we keep going, because we are trying to do these series throughout so that we can help the youngsters come out with their questions around handling mental wellness issues. Where we want to bring or build more resilience into their attitude and their toughness. So thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Thank you, Ashok. Thank you, Vidya. Wonderful knowing you. And thank you, Vidyadhar garu. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sridhar garu.
I'll make all three of you connect with one another because you three are in the same field, and it might be better if you are knowing each other.
No, yeah. Surely, I would like to connect with Divya at some point.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Create a group and we shall talk there. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much.
All the students, all the participants, the best of everything in what they do.
Thank you, sir.
And be really sporty in what they do. And have a wonderful day. Good luck.
Thank you.